panorámica. Hi there, I'm going to walk you through this video I shot in June of 2018, starting off here at the Lazaro Cardenas Park by the Andale Bernardo statue by Jim Demetro. This is this scene here in front of this mini amphitheater. There's a lot of mosaic work around the park. I think the pots have now been covered too with mosaics, so the park itself is getting a nicer and nicer image as time goes by. Even the staircases out of the parking lot have mosaics. This is the Burros Bar. I like the burros that are made with palm trees here on the way in. It's a nice little rustic beach bar. There's some kid games too that my kids when they were smaller enjoyed. Here we're walking along a modified or an improved sidewalk. Some people call it an extension of the Malecón. I would say it actually is, especially because the design of the sidewalk is in the same style. You have these little rocks interspersed like cobblestone and huichol designs that and certain messages, certain phrases along the way on the cement. And that's also part of the Malecón, so we could almost say it's an integrated part of the design. In any case, it's not known as a Malecón. It's just along a sidewalk along the Olas Altas beach. As I mentioned here, there was red tide. And there's a seahorse, the sea monkey, restaurant here and bar on the side. It was a very warm day. We're most of the days there in June, and I was there in town. And it's a nice day. There were nice days. The only thing was the red tide. No? This is the new statue, very small, basic one called the Cellist. I think I wasn't able to find out who the sculptor was, but if I do, I might put a note in the sculpture guide. I don't find it very interesting, so if I may be blunt, don't find it a very impressive sculpture in any way, but maybe I just don't know enough. Here we have we're going by the Molino de Agua, Condominio, and we're arriving at the first sculpture in this part of the first more impressive sculpture in this part of the town, which is the Washerwoman by Jim Demetro. Same sculpture as the Andale Bernardo, and we'll find another sculpture along the way too that was made by him. So here we're arriving at the pedestrian bridge over the Cuale River, and it's, as you can see, it's easy to walk along it. It has a very reasonable slope. It's even good for wheelchairs, and you can see here there's a lookout which I'm going to visit, a lookout out from the bridge, and underneath the lookout from time to time you can find oysters. Somebody selling fresh oysters, if you're into that. I like them cooked if anything, but they serve them fresh with lemon, very fresh. This is the ugly condominium Molino de Agua that replaced a green area with wonderful trees and like a jungle that was the original Molino de Agua hotel, and before that Posada de la Selva, and it was a crime actually to destroy that. So here we're at the lookout. There were palms here. At this moment in time, the trees were gone. But here we can see the southern area, all the way to the pier at Los Muertos and beyond, Conchastines and so on, and Los Arcos there in the distance. It's a nice lookout. You can also enjoy the sea when it has a nice color. This time it wasn't that nice. And then the mouth of the Cuale River that actually is not draining out to the sea at the moment because it's in the dry season, the driest part of the dry season. It started raining just the the few days before I left Puerto Vallarta there in mid-June. So it doesn't have a mouth at this point in time. That's a Cuale River, and then it opens up to the sea when the rainy season starts, a little in June. No, in between May and June it starts normally. And here we can see on our right is the Cuale River, which was formed not long ago, actually some 40, 50 years ago, and has been used since it appeared, no, first as a playground and now as a actual market and place, a park itself. No, you see the Oscars here on the right. They were arranging the roof at that point in time, and this is these are the stairs that go down to the island, so you can go either one way or the other, from the island to the Malecón. Beside Oscar's, on the northern side of the sidewalk, there's a tequila, you can see it a little bit here, a tequila tasting tour they have too, where they show you the process and you can taste and buy their tequilas. I don't know if they're any good, but they do have that. So here we're arriving towards the end of the bridge. There was before like a sail roof here at the end, or like a tent here at the end of the Malecón too, but it's no longer there. Imagine they either will replace it or not. Here there's a little staircase to the right that goes down to the Juárez Bazar and Market. It's a little place you can shop for souvenirs and so on. I could imagine they have good prices. I bought my hat there, like a hat, sun to protect from the sun, right there. And I could imagine they have better prices because it's not that obvious and it's not that touristy. So maybe you can get better deals there. Here we're arriving at the Malecón 2, the southern end of the Malecón 2, or the Malecón 2, the extension of the Malecón, because this wasn't part of the Malecón until recently. This area here was mostly a parking area, and I think there was another park and I think the Lazaro Cardenas statue, I'm not totally sure, but it wasn't really a walkway. And when this building here to the right was finished, it's a parking building, then they closed out this road and transformed it into a pedestrian area, no, like an extension of the Malecón. And it starts here by the river, Cuale River, and it goes all the way to the Naval Museum and the dolphin statue that's been moved. Before it was in the middle of the amphitheater. Now it's at the end, at the edge. So this Malecón is so relatively new and has a lot of, as you can see, bars, restaurants, and a lot of stores that you can visit. And it also has some statues along the way. You can see the one here on the left is Lorena Ochoa, a very famous golfer from Guadalajara. She was number one golfer for quite a few years, and she was also between quotes, for a tourist ambassador for the Puerto Vallarta, which is why she gained this statue. No? I always tip the street artists. Good thing they have their sun roof there. It can really be hot and dangerous to be in the sun for too long. You have these souvenir stores here. You can get sunscreen, sunglasses, and so on if you need. And as you can see, I'm always walking in the shade. I avoid as much as possible the sun. So a little further ahead, we're going to get to some other statues. In the afternoons and nights, a lot of stands are set up here on the edge. You can get ice cream and corn on the cob and other real Mexican treats. No, so this is a nice place to visit in the afternoon and night. You'll see now that we'll arrive at the statue of what's it called? San Pascual Bailón by Ramis Barquet, a very famous sculptor artist here in Puerto Vallarta, which is also the person that made the Nostalgia statue, the couple that's sitting on the Malecón. which is one of the second statue placed on the Malecon from 1984, and he's best known for that sculpture. Here's another sculpture by Blue. Erizados. It was supposedly part of a temporary display, but it ended up placed here permanently. I hope they take care of it, because you can imagine right by the sea it could disappear. Anyway, you have cocos, at least that I enjoy. And here we're arriving at the Vallarta dancers. No, another one of Jim Demetro's sculptures, one of the ones I most like, and it was the first one he was able to sponsor and get sponsored by the city, inspired by the folk dancer troupe, Jutla, I don't know how it's pronounced, and the Jarabe Tapatío, the traditional dance from Guadalajara, very well known worldwide. So this is one of the nice sculptures he's worked on and donated to the city. And so we continue now. We'll right on the right there is the Naval Museum, and here we're arriving at a mosaic of a painting by Manuel Lepe Macedo called the Fishmongers, the Vendedores de Pescado, from I think it was 1981, and he's the most famous of the Puerto Vallarta artists. No? And finally here at the end is the Friendship Fountain, which is a fountain that represents the friendship between Santa Barbara and Puerto Vallarta. And here we're at the Malecon. You'll see the rest in another video that we have afterwards. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.